I'm back, and I just watched Dune a couple of days ago. So before I answer the questions, how was it and should you see it, I'm gonna first give you a few teasers and see if you're interested in this movie. Number one, big screen phenomenon of 2021, Hollywood star-studded science fiction epic by Denis Villeneuve, the visionary director behind Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, starring Timothée Chalamet, Call Me By Your Name, Rebecca Ferguson, Mission Impossible, and Jason Momoa, Aquaman. One of Hollywood's most cursed science fiction projects, an adaptation of Frank Herbert's magnum opus saga, Dune, that snubbed brilliant artists and filmmakers like Orson Welles, Pink Floyd, Dali, Alejandro Jodorowsky, Mick Jagger, and frustrated David Lynch, who directed the 1984 version that was a commercial bomb. Okay, so if you're not even a little tiny bit interested in this movie, after hearing what I just said, you probably won't have the best cinematic experience for this movie. Because as a motion picture rendition of the very demanding science fiction series Dune, it sort of asks you to at least not be a hater to science fiction, and then you have the patience to sit through 156 minutes of a relatively slow-paced movie, or you are a fan of Denis Villeneuve's personal visual style. To take one line from the movie, this is the line of a Bene Gesserit, a all-female religious order and a very strong political force. Quote, "We sift for our air." And like that, this movie sifts through its audience for the real fans. It may not be a crowd favorite, and it's likely to draw polarizing reviews, much like the way Denis Villeneuve's Arrival and Blade Runner 2049 did in the past few years. Kudos to Denis Villeneuve fans. Yeah, because the visual effects in this movie is a continuation of that in Arrival and Blade Runner 2049. I'm not a pro, but I imagine the sand effects, how it moves, how it kind of swirls in the background is really hard to do. And the cast, if you are a fan of members of the cast, I think you're also in luck. Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, these three leads, they look really, really good on close-ups. Their faces are spotless, flawless. You can see the very pronounced facial structures to perfection. Absolutely eye candy. But Zendaya fans, heads up. We need a little sidebar. I'm not saying that she's not great. She doesn't look good in this movie. She looks every minute as good as she did in the trailer. That's all you're gonna get from me. But if you are a curious moviegoer like myself who is open to sci-fi, then I have something to tell you from my own personal experience. First of all, don't worry, you will get what the movie is talking about, even if you haven't read any of Dune's original novels. Because at my screening, which is a packed IMAX one, people around me seem to follow the plotline really well. Some of them are even guessing what is coming next and getting it right. So I would say the 2021 Dune is doing a better job than the 1984 version in the storytelling aspect. Secondly, upon understanding the story itself, is it entertaining or meaningful to you? In my case, the movie is neither, sadly. I think part of the issues that I took with the movie has something to do with the setting of the Dune universe, especially at the outset. It describes the aftermath of a deadly duel between humanity and artificial intelligence, where humanity won. So as a result, what is cutting-edge technologies today, like artificial intelligence and genetic engineering, largely banned in the Dune universe. In that condition, people have to again resort to natural resources to expand their knowledge and sustain their daily life. In this case, spice is the strategically important resource. Sounds familiar? It is because of this setting, which I admit has a certain level of ingenuity to it, that the science part of this movie is largely overshadowed by stale geopolitical innuendos, surreal elements like unexplained prognosis and telekinesis, and some gadgets that I can only say fell out of Harry Potter's robe. Dune may have started out as a sci-fi masterpiece, but at some point it just crossed over into a much well-trodden world of fantasy, filled with already popular, successful works like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, and just like that, it lost its unique appeal. The way I see it, what distinguishes sci-fi from all the other genres is that although it resorts to imaginations, it's always grounded in reality. It explores the vast boundaries of science and technologies, but then reflects on their bearings on human life, human civilizations, and the fate of humanity as a species. I think every good sci-fi work of art is a thought experiment where the author makes assumptions and then reasons through plot development, character development until it reaches a conclusion to debunk or prove the assumption. Sometimes there is a conclusion and sometimes there isn't. But the point is, it has to make the audience think. Like the way Gattaca made me think if genetic engineering can make human lives fuller. And District 9 made me question if human beings can embrace intergalactic cultures. And Ex Machina, no less, sent chills down my spine about the futures of human-AI coexistence. I love them all because although they are all stories in the future, they tell tales of the present. Alright, this is my take on the 2021 Dune. I hope you have some idea of what to expect. If you do decide to watch the movie, I suggest you can brush up on some Dune 101, especially the background before the outset of the movie's story, so that you won't be taken aback the first 30 minutes of watching the movie, but generally you'll be fine. And if you happen to be intrigued by the series and the concepts and the universe for extracurricular activities, I recommend the movie Jodorowsky's Dune. It's about the film industry's first ever attempt at adaptation of Dune, which sadly evaporated. But still, it's a very lovely story, an inspiring story about how passion and ambition takes you a long way. I highly recommend it. Go see it if you have time. So, this is today's video. I'll see you when I see you. But before that, remember to walk without rhythm. You won't attract the worms.